Hello, thank you for taking the time to talk to you today. I would like to talk about how to effectively communicate with teenagers. During our talk, I'm going to provide some thoughts and ideas to help adults like you to better solve communication issues with teenagers. Effective communication includes expressing yourself in a positive manner, talking candidly about your feelings without offending each other or going on the defensive, being able to talk to your teen about big issues as well as little issues with ease, and putting importance of how they feel. Teenagers will know they won't be judged and you will always be there for them. Helpful tips to communicate with your teenager is to truly care about what your teenager is saying to you. Give them your concerted attention, put away your phone, and have eye contact. Take the emotion out of it. Teenagers, not adults, not children. As your child grows from infant to teenager, the way you communicate needs to change. Communicating with an infant is easy. They cry, you change your diaper, you feed them. Toddler, you go through your terrible 2 stage, and it's fairly easy. They don't really talk back to you. Teenagers hate adults. They slam doors. They don't want to listen to you. It's hard to communicate with them. You never know what you're going to get with a teenager. They don't want to be talked to like children, but talked to respectfully and calmly. Parent-teen relationship will be less challenging and much stronger if following the communication techniques. Be curious about what your teen is saying, but don't overly interrogate. Barriers to effective communication: interrupting your teen. Let your teenager talk, you listen without judgment or unsolicited opinions. Trap: asking a question you already know to catch your teen in a lie. The only outcome is anger and distrust between both parties. I've been guilty of doing that. I will gather information and try to trick my son into lying to me. And when he does lie, I'm angry. If he's telling the truth, he's angry. So there's just no winning with that. Constant preaching and advising instead of letting them make mistakes and pay the consequences for their actions. Fighting battles that don't need fighting. Nagging teenagers about cleaning their room shouldn't be a big issue, but for me it is. I don't want to walk past a messy room. But I'm trying lately to pick my battles. He doesn't do drugs, he doesn't drink, so cleaning his room shouldn't be a big issue. I have to kind of train myself on that. Pushing for A grades when teens push themselves hard enough in their eyes. I just want my son to do the best he can. I don't push for A's. I think it's unrealistic. I think it puts undue pressure on him. Playing too many games or on electronics. I do allow him to be on his phone. I think it's kind of a way to decompress from the day, from a long day at school, to get his mind off things. Assumptions and jumping to conclusions. Assuming the worst of your teen when they don't answer their phone. Recently, this did happen to me. We had a really bad thunderstorm come through. My son had just biked about 15 miles to Cedarburg and would not answer his phone. I thought maybe a tornado swept him away. The winds were really high. And then the absolute worst thought was that he was in a basement of some kid's house drinking, and that's why he was answering his phone. But it turned out he was in a band shell taking cover from the storm and just didn't hear his phone. But I would just assume the worst. Jumping to the wrong conclusion when they are with their friends drinking when they could just be hanging out. Avoid power struggles. You don't always have to be right. Admit when you are wrong. I think I do a pretty good job of that. I do apologize when I'm wrong, even though my teenager, when he's wrong, he does not yet. So I'm still trying to teach him that, taking ownership. Compromise with your teen. Curfew, I think, would be a big compromise. You want 10 o'clock, he wants midnight. Maybe 10:30, 11 would be a better compromise. And watch your tone. Understand your teen wants freedom, but establish rules. Make sure the rules of the house are clear to the teen. What is expected of them and what the consequences for their actions will be if not followed. If you say no to a request, explain why and discuss it instead of saying because I said so. At my age of 46, when I was a teenager, my parents said no. It was because I said so. That was the end of it. Nowadays, I think explaining to a teen why you don't want them to do something, it will maybe stay in their head, and they maybe really won't be doing the things you don't want them to do. Emphasize positive qualities about your teen. When your teen is honest about something that happened, let them know that you trust them more when they continue to be honest. If my son would come out and say, hey, I had a beer by a friend's house, I don't come down on the teen. Instead, say, thank you for being honest, but I prefer you not to be drinking. When your teen is being responsible with their job and curfew, let them know that goes towards trusting them and allowing them more freedom. To conclude, the most effective ways to communicate with a teenager is respect, honesty, and not being overly critical. Removing barriers such as your tone of voice, emotion, and judgments will go a long way of keeping that line of communication open. Thank you for sitting and listening to my speech.